Hello again. Chris Lee of Southeastern 16, joined by Chase Robinson. As today we preview Vanderbilt's opener with Virginia Tech. That is going to be Saturday, last day of August, 11 Central. You can catch that game in Nashville at Vanderbilt or on ESPN. Virginia Tech, a 13.5-point favorite, according to BetOnline, as we're doing this in mid-August. Chase, tell the folks a little bit more about BetOnline, please.
Yeah, they bring you all of our content here on Southeastern 16, and they are the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything online sports betting. Right now, you can receive a 50% free bet of up to $250 on your first deposit to bet on anything from UFC to baseball to Formula One racing. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, you can head over to the online casino, get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or one of the over 150 slots games. Head over to the website today to get in on the action. Use promo code BELIEVE, B-L-E-A-V, for your 50% free bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. Bet online, the game starts here.
All right, let's talk about both teams. At Virginia Tech last year went 7-6. Is coached by former Vanderbilt assistant Brent Pry. Tech got hot late last year, won 3 out of 4 to get to a bowl to finish 7-6, returned 17 starters. Vanderbilt, on the other hand, revamped a lot of stuff. New offensive and defensive coordinators for Clark Lee. This is, I don't know if it make or break season is fair to say, but certainly Clark Lee's got to do better than he did the 2-10 season of last year for people to feel good about the direction of the program. And let me tell you, the Commodores are going to have their hands full with Virginia Tech's offense, Chase.
They are, and when you look at, you mentioned 17 starters returning. That's a great number to have for this Virginia Tech program. And when you look at, I think, the strongest position on the field for, or one of the strongest positions, that's wide receiver for the Hokies. They've got 6 of their top 7 receivers returning, and they just got better as the season went on. I felt like catching the ball, and they averaged 450 total yards per game in their last 3 games, and so they're a strong offensive team. But looking at the pass catchers specifically, a couple of guys that you'll want to pay attention to, and that's Da'Quan Felton and Jaylin Lane. Those are 2 guys who are great receivers. Both had, or Lane had 6 touchdowns. Felton had 8 touchdowns a season ago. And so really good pass catchers. But then you look at the quarterback, Kyron Drones. He had over 2,000 yards last year. He can also run the ball, had over 800 yards last year. And so those are some names to watch, especially Drones. And he's quick. He's able to get the ball out. But with all the guys returning, that's going to be big. And also the offensive line. They've got a lot of returning there. And some say 4, some say 5 starters returning there on the offensive line. So they've got some experience. They've got depth there on the line as well. Georgia State transfer Montavious Cunningham could be one that ends up starting out of the transfer portal. He played a lot for State last year. And so the offensive line is really good, which I think sets up Drones be able to have some time to get it out to these guys. And they also have their top running backs back, as that's something to watch again this year. And so this is a good offense that Vanderbilt's going to be facing there in Virginia Tech, but just so much experience coming back. That's what stands out to me with this Virginia Tech offense.
Yeah, I think Vanderbilt has got its hands full with this offense, but it's going to look different defensively for Vanderbilt. I think it'll be better. Now, how much better is the key? I mean, average giving up, 36 points a game last year. Yeah. The defense has been in a free fall there for 4 or 5 years. Clark Lee took matters into his own hands. He is running that defense, and there are some stars back there. Langston Patterson, their middle linebacker, one of the better ones in the league, very active, had a really good second half when he finally started seeing the field more and was very productive. CJ Taylor, their strong safety, really good player, one of the better safeties in the league, just got to stay healthy. They got Ricky Wright back, and they added a couple of new guys. Raymond Fontenette from TCU is going to play that star position, really good player for them in camp. And I think the questions at corner, they were horrible there last year. Colby Taylor from Wyoming looks maybe the best one they've got. Vanderbilt brought in a couple of CS transfers who both could have started at corner. Both those guys are going to be out, though. So the Commodores already kind of hurting there. And the defensive line, it is not a star-studded group, but I think they'll go 10 or 12 deep legitimately. Now, I don't know if there's a star in there anywhere, but this is an 11 o'clock game. I think Vanderbilt will be able to rotate bodies. They hit the portal and supplemented their depth, including to what they've already developed. So this is going to be a better defense. I think the challenge for them will be getting to the quarterback and getting some stops, and just two things they didn't do very well at a year ago. And maybe you force some turnovers with your Vandy to make it interesting, but feels like Tech's got the edge on that side of the matchup, Chase.
Yeah, and like I said, with all the returners on the offensive line, that's going to make it really tough to get back there to the quarterback. And so, yeah, I think Vanderbilt's defense definitely has their hands full in this opener.
Yeah, and offensively, I think this is where Vanderbilt is going to try to make its mark in terms of making a change. They changed the entire offense, fired the offensive coordinator. It is now the New Mexico State staff that's running this offense. Tim Beck, the offensive coordinator in name, and he is the offensive coordinator, but Jerry Kill, who's an analyst on that staff, who was the head coach in New Mexico State a year ago and took that offense down to Auburn and won a game. Oh, by the way, he brought his quarterback in, Diego Pavia, a kid who passed for 2,973 yards in 15 games, rushed for 928 more. It is going to be a ball control, run your quarterback, throw short passes kind of offense. Nate Johnson at Utah will be his backup. 10-4 in the 100 meters guy, not very accurate with the ball, but you may see both those guys. Sedrick Alexander, their tailback, I think is a nice up-and-coming player. Their receiver room, I think, is subpar. I think you might see them go 2 tight ends and 2 receivers. Frankly, I think their tight end room is stronger than their receiver room. If that's the case, you'll probably see Cole Spence, who has not had a reception, but I think he's going to be a really good player in this league. Big kid, 6'7", can run. They've got a kid named Eli Stover who transferred in from New Mexico State after catching 366 yards of balls last year. You'll probably see a lot of Junior Sherrill maybe in the slot, and Quincy Skinner, a fourth year guy at receiver, but it's not a great room. Their offensive line's been rebuilt. Chase Mitchell, their left tackle from Liberty, Stephen Losoya, their center imported from Mississippi State, Stephen Hubbard, right guard, coming from UTEP. So they brought in 3 starters. They'll probably have a new right tackle in Missile Sandoval, or Mysil, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but and then left guy, or probably Gunnar Hansen, who moves inside from left tackle. But the key for Vandy will be hanging on to the ball, and it'll be just not turning it over. See, can you keep your defense off the field? It's not going to be an explosive offense. It's going to be a 3, 4, 5, 6 yards at a time operation, and can they string enough of those together to get first downs? I think that's going to be the key to the game for Vanderbilt.
And you're looking at a Virginia Tech defense who's top 20 nationally. And one player and kind of the linebacker core has a lot of experience. And I'll get to those guys in a second. But I want to start with edge rusher Antwaun Powell-Ryland. He's kind of an anchor for this defense. He's back. He's very good. And looking at some other guys along the defensive front, the 2 defensive ends, Cole Nelson and Keyshawn Burgos. Those are 2 guys who are also back, who have a lot of experience. And they're going to put a lot of pressure on this offense of Vanderbilt, that's for sure. They're keying in on trying to get back there to Pavia, trying to get around this this offensive line for Vanderbilt. So those are 3 guys I think you'll pick up on quickly when it comes to watching this game. But the linebacker position is really strong this year. They've got Kelly Lawson back, Jaden Keller, Jaden McDonald, all played a lot of football last year. They got Sam Brumfield from Middle Tennessee. He's transferred there to Virginia Tech, and he could very well get a starting role in this defense. And then Keontae Jenkins, he's a senior. He's played his whole career there at Virginia Tech, and he could kind of star in that outside linebacker position. And so the cornerback also a strong position, and Dorian Strong is a name that you'll hear a lot at that quarterback position, as well as Manor Delane. And they should be really good this year as well. So I really like what I see at the linebacker position. And again, they're quick. there's a reason that they're a top 20 nationally ranked team, is because they're going to provide a lot of pressure. And it starts with the edge rusher Powell-Ryland, like I mentioned, but also those defensive ends in Cole Nelson and Keyshawn Burgos. They also added a couple of transfers in the interior of the defensive line that stand out to a lot of folks. That's Aeneas Peebles. He transferred in from Duke, and then Kevin Gilliam Jr. transferred from Oklahoma to Virginia Tech. And those two guys, a lot of talk about those on kind of the interior of the defensive line. And so all indication is this is going to be a legit defense that Virginia Tech is going to put on the field this year.
Yeah, I think it's a really good Virginia Tech team, Chase. I was a little surprised when the AP Top 25 came out and Tech wasn't in it. I think they were third in the receiving votes category, but I think according to some metrics, one of the most experienced teams in the country, if not the most experienced. Brent Pry's now in his third or fourth year there, I think. I mean, it feels like they have finally got some things going on, a better trajectory after a rough start. On paper, Virginia Tech's the better team. Is it 13.5 points better? I don't know. Probably depends on how Vanderbilt's able to execute the ball control offense without turning it over and without stalling out. My concern for Vanderbilt is, it gets 2 or 3 yards a play at times, whereas it needs, 4 or 5 to keep the chains moving against this defense. But Tech clearly the better team on paper. It is going to be a hot early morning game. There'll be a time change. So I think that tilts things a little bit more towards Vanderbilt, but not enough to make anybody other than Virginia Tech the favorite in this one. They're 13.5 point favorite for a reason.
You're exactly right. And you mentioned the experience, and that's just what stands out to me from the moment I started looking at this Virginia Tech team as their experience. And it's hard to pick against a team with that much experience. There's a reason, that they're favored is because there's so much experience coming back and guys who've played in these big type games. So, I'm looking forward to seeing how Vanderbilt can handle this, handle the pressure, and if they're going to receive, especially from the Virginia Tech defense.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing this one. We're just about 2 weeks away as we do this. So if something changes between now and then, keep that in mind. We're recording this on August the 16th. But we'll be here for the aftermath of it. We cover SEC baseball, football, and basketball year-round. So be sure to subscribe to our channel if you're here for that. I mean, I do mean year-round. We literally have basketball and baseball shows once a week in the off season. So we keep up with things there. But anyway, got an audience of millions looking for advertisers. Caroline.smith@southeastern14.com. Again, that's an older email address, but it'll get there. Anyway, for Chase Robinson, I'm Chris Lee. We are Southeastern 16, presented by BetOnline.